So, for the second consecutive week, the NFL faces tragedy. Last week, the murder-suicide committed by the Chiefs' Javon Belcher. Then early yesterday morning, 25-year-old Jerry Brown, a Cowboys practice squad linebacker, was killed in a single-car accident. Brown was the passenger in the car driven by his friend and teammate, defensive tackle Josh Brent, who has been charged with intoxication manslaughter. Drinking and driving is a societal problem, to be sure, but it's perhaps even more difficult to understand when it involves a football player. There are systems in place, including a safe rides program through the NFL Players Association, to help prevent situations like the one that ended Brown's life. Any NFL player can just pick up a phone and arrange a ride if he feels he's impaired. Let's bring in Tony Dungy now. Tony, what, if anything, can a coach do to influence the thinking and the decision-making of his players?
Well, Bob, that's something you always wanted to do, whether it's as a coach talking to your team, talking to youth groups, or me as a parent talking to my teenage boys. You always talked about decision-making, and I always highlighted three areas. Number one, being in or out late after 1 a.m., using drugs and alcohol, and then driving too fast. And I would talk to the team about that over and over and over again. You try to think of different ways as a coach to get that message across. My last year in Indianapolis, I brought in a young man from the Indianapolis area who had a vehicular homicide at 17 years old. He spent 9 years in prison, and he told me that those 9 years were nothing compared to the fact that he had to wake up every day realizing he killed 3 people. I said, you've got to tell this story to my team, because I'm looking for different voices, different ways to get that across. So NFL coaches are trying to do everything they can to help young men make better decisions, Bob.
Well, let's hope that at least some of that is getting through. Thanks, Tony. And we're back to Lambeau Field in Green Bay for the second half of the line.
Okay, gun community. The reason why I'm putting this up is because there seems to be a double standard. I don't know if it's with NBC or if it's with Bob Costas and the crew. I don't care. But here's the deal. Last week, Bob Costas came out and did a rant on Sunday Night Football where he quoted Jason Whitlock. And then this week, they basically come out and say, this is a tragic event. It could have been prevented. There are systems in place that the players can use so that this type of stuff doesn't happen. And basically, I hope you guys learned your lesson. Tragic event, use the systems in place. The NFL also has systems in place for players that are suffering from severe depression, mental illness, and other debilitating things. Why did NBC or why did Bob Costas not talk about those systems last week? Why did he not talk about the systems that the NFL has in place to help players that are suffering from depression? It's unfortunate because at the end of the day, they basically come out and said, a gun ban is needed. We just had another tragic event where a firearm was taken into a gun-free zone and used against innocent people. You never hear about a shooting or a gun massacre at a gun show, which, if you really wanted to talk about banning guns, then that would probably be the thing that would really spark the interest. Then that's just my opinion. But to come out and just say, hey guys, we need to learn our lesson from this, use the systems in place, and then, back to the football game, basically. It just kind of, rang a bell with me. I couldn't quite understand why they didn't come out and say, use these programs last week. Just my 2 cents. I want to hear what you guys have to think about it. I think, in any situation, that young man was mentally disturbed when he took his life and killed his girlfriend. And it certainly was not the gun's fault. The gun didn't tell him to do it. And the fact that it was available to him is by chance, in my opinion. If the gun was not available to him, he would have taken his life. He would have killed his girlfriend using other means. The same thing with the shooting in Oregon that just happened. If that gentleman did not have a firearm, he would have found other ways to kill people, plain and simple. The same thing with drunk driving. No one comes out and says let's ban cars because drunk drivers use these as weapons to kill people. Why is that? The car is not at fault. It's the person driving the car. And we all know that driving drunk or driving intoxicated is illegal. And guess what? People do it anyway. So do you think that by banning firearms that you're going to stop people from committing mass murders with them? I don't believe so. And I'd just like to hear what you guys have to say about it. Post your comments. I'll get at you later. Peace.